Hey there guys, I'm here again with another budget deck, and this one is kind of like a pet deck of mine because I love combo, and except nobody likes playing against a deck that combos off in one turn. So I was like, okay, what kind of like a grindy combo deck can I build? And so I kind of settled on this, and then I realized, oh wait, I can just turn it into a one turn kill anyway. So I turned it into that, and no one likes to play against me anymore. But the point is that this is a deck that is not really played that much right now, and it's got some surprising power to it. So we've got yet another Lurrus deck, and Lurrus is, hopefully by now you understand what a companion is, and you've probably seen Lurrus in one form or another. But Lurrus reanimates things from your graveyard with 2 mana, CMC 2 mana or less, and that is great in this deck. We're going to quickly point out this card in here is only in here for deck thinning and the synergy with Lurrus being able to play every turn for a free draw. But I guess it also kind of combos out with Evolving Wilds if you really want to consider that a combo. Mishra's Bauble, look at your top card of your deck, and if it's a bad card, then you can shuffle it away with Evolving Wilds. Anyway, but it also Evolving Wilds in there for Fatal Push in the sideboard. Sideboard could use some work, but it's really a soft sideboard. Anyway, so the purpose of this deck, it's called Aristocrats, and it's a combo deck. I would consider it a combo deck because you have, I would say you have 4 different card types in this deck. You have the Aristocrats, which are the ironically the sack outlets are called Aristocrats, but like I call the things that make people lose life, for example, Blood Artist. Whenever it or another creature dies, target player loses life and you gain life. I actually call those the Aristocrats. And then cards like Viscera Seer or Cartel Aristocrat, I call the sack outlets. Just out of, because I don't want to call them death triggers. So you're gonna have Aristocrats, sack outlets, sack fodder, and reanimation. And out of those, we are going to start off with the Aristocrats, the purpose of the deck, the way we win. Zulaport Cutthroat. Whenever it or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1, you gain 1. Cruel Celebrant. Whenever it or another creature or planeswalker you control dies, each opponent loses 1, you gain 1. Blood Artist. Whenever it or another creature dies, not necessarily that you control, this counts your opponent's board as well. Target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Now, those cards equal up to 10 cards in your deck. So you have 10 Aristocrats. And that's a really nice place to be. The reason why I have 4 Zulaports and 2 Cruel Celebrant is you might not be able to rely on your mana base to get that the white-black as often as you would in a non-budget list. So for that reason, Zulaport is in there as a 4 of. But if you have better lands, I would highly suggest Cruel Celebrant, because though they're practically the same card, Cruel Celebrant is a 1/2, while Zulaport Cutthroat is a 1/1. Next up, we have our sack outlets. So we have Viscera Seer, sacrifice a creature, scry 1. This can sacrifice itself or it can sacrifice your other cards. Then we have Cartel Aristocrat, sacrifice another creature. It gains Cartel Aristocrat gains protection from color of your choice until end of turn. That card, this card right here, is going to be able to sometimes just swing in for damage, but it's just another sack outlet, and it's not as vulnerable because it has 2 toughness, so it won't die from Lava Dart, Gut Shot, whatever. The last one we have is Carrion Feeder, and I wouldn't really worry about this dying to Lava Dart or Gutshot either, because it's a 1/1. Sure, it's a 1-drop in here, but you can sack a creature to put a 1 counter on Carrion Feeder. It also can't block, but that's not very relevant in the deck. But Carrion Feeder's going to be growing and just getting larger and larger and larger, so it's not really going to die to Lava Dart. So those also equal 10 sack outlets in the deck, and you'll notice that out of the cards I'm playing, the reason I chose the cards I'm playing are because of their mana cost, so they're 1 or 2, but also because there's no additional cost to sacrificing that creature. It's just sack a creature. So those are probably going to be your best choices, and it's just an amazing way to just go through all of your and basically board wipe yourself. Now, whenever you sacrifice any of your creatures to these, you are going to get these triggers off of your aristocrats, and those aristocrats are going to be your main way of winning. Sure, you can win through combat damage, Carrion Feeder, or Cartel Aristocrat, but it's mostly going to the bulk of your damage is going to be Blood Artist or the other aristocrats. Now, the third section of this deck are the sack fodder. And so the sack fodder consists of, the biggest one is Doomed Traveler. When it dies, create a token. You're going to create a spirit with flying, and so flyers are actually surprisingly resilient in the deck, because flyers don't really exist in Modern. But Doomed Traveler, you can sacrifice it to get another creature, which you could potentially sacrifice again. And so that is in there. That's going to be our best token producer. Our next sack outlet is just sacrifice fodder is Lingering Souls. So 3 mana, create 2 1/1s, but flashback, create 2 1/1s, but the flashback is 2 mana. Now this card is really good because it just gives us bulk. It just gives us flyers. And so we're going to be able to either swing in the air, or sacrifice them, or chump block if we really need to. But when we chump block, if the creature doesn't have trample, we can just sacrifice it to get our additional effects, to give carry encounters, to scry with Seer, or to give Cartel Aristocrat protection. For example, if I'm blocking 2 creatures, one with a spirit and one with a Cartel Aristocrat, I can sacrifice the spirit and give my aristocrat protection from the color of the creature it's blocking, so my aristocrat will live. And those are our sack fodder. And the last section of the deck is our reanimation. Now, our obvious one that our opponent will know about is Lurrus of the Dream Den, and that's what they'll be worrying about. That's like, oh, I see, they're just going to play this and bring their stuff back and slowly win. But the thing to keep in mind is that we have slotted 8 cards in this deck for a specific type of reanimation card. 8 cards is a lot in a deck, but it is worth it. We have Rally the Ancestors. Return each creature card with converted mana cost X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Exile those cards at the beginning of your next upkeep. Exile Rally of Ancestors. That is so powerful because we can sacrifice our entire board in one turn. Cast Rally of the Ancestors. You want to be cautious about doing this against counterspells, by the way. But if they don't have counterspells, by all means, go for it. But what's going to happen is we sack our entire board. We play Rally the Ancestors, and then all of the creatures in our graveyard. The only creature we might not grab with this is Lurrus, but that's just like 4 mana gets everything out of our graveyard but Lurrus if Lurrus is in there. 5 mana gets absolutely everything, including Lurrus. Now they do get exiled eventually, but if you sacrifice them, then they won't be exiled. If you sacrifice them, they just go back to our graveyard. Anyway, The awesome thing also is if you don't necessarily win that turn, it exiles at the beginning of your next upkeep, so you can keep them as blockers and then sack them all at the end of the turn. Next is Return to the Ranks, which is slightly different, and I want to say it's kind of worse, but also like kind of better. If you're trying to one-shot your opponent, Rally Ancestors is what you're doing, but if you're wanting to have a more stable board and just kind of just stronger for the long game, you can do Return to the Ranks, which has Convoke, but return X target creature cards with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So though you don't have to pay for scaling mana cost, you do have to pay for the number of creatures you're getting back. And now let's run down a scenario of you have a board full of like Aristocrats, sack outlets, and then a Doom Traveler. You sack the Doom Traveler, and then you get that Spirit. That Spirit, though it's only one card, will count towards Convoke. You can tap it to use Convoke, and that's going to be a way you can bring stuff back. I know it's not too impressive just adding one more card, but that Spirit automatically pays for the Doom Traveler to come back if you don't have anything better to grab. Anyway, that is the deck. You can just sacrifice your cards. You can make your opponent lose a bunch of life out of nowhere. And so Rally and Return are some pretty sweet additions. I'm really happy with it. The mana base is Pathways. I love the Pathways for Budget Modern. They're just amazing. Concealed Courtyards, as fast lands, Evolving Wilds, trigger Revolt, but also to help with Bobble, and then 2 of each of these, because we're fairly even in our colors here. Then our sideboard is Cling to Dust as Graveyard Hate, Duress for Hand Hate, Fatal Push, and Path to Exile are 8 spots in the sideboard. Now this is where I'm going to make a suggestion. I would only recommend running 4 removal between Path and Fatal Push, but use your metagame to shape that, and then use the remaining spots to put in maybe more Graveyard Hate, like Soul Guide Lantern, or maybe even you need more Lingering Souls, or you need something to take out your Rally Ancestors and Return the Ranks because your opponent's going to bring in counter spells. That's a really good way to use that. And then we have some more discard in Inquisition Kozilek, and that is going to be mainly against other low to ground decks, and it can even flush out a counterspell. Anyway, that is the deck. It is a sweet list. I absolutely love playing it. It's really fun being able to just kind of grind out, and then suddenly just win with Rally Ancestors Return to the Ranks is absolutely insane, especially since you don't even need Return or Rally to win the game. Anyway, if you like this list, please drop a like and let me know what you think. I'm having a lot of fun with making these modern decks. Anyway, I will see you next time.